Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett and thank you for spending some time with me today because in this video, we're talking all about some interior design that I just don't think you need to waste your money on in 2025 and we can let go and move on from. We're also going to talk about what you could do instead. Now, the first thing I see all of the time on social media specifically, it's like everybody renovating their house that is posting their content online are obsessed with arches, arch doorways, arch cabinets, arch accessories and decor. The arch is like all over the place. I personally don't think arched stuff is worth your time, effort, or money because I don't think it's necessary. And that's not to say it looks bad because it doesn't. It looks fine. But I don't think you absolutely have to have it. If I was prioritizing a renovation for my clients, that would not be on the list. It would not be on the top of the list. If they said, oh, I want an arched doorway, I'd be like, okay, fine, let's figure out how to do this and make it look right. Now, when it comes to this arch trend, I have seen so many different things. I've seen it where people will just paint an arch over a normal door, and I don't know what fantasy that's fulfilling. For me, it would be like a nightmare as opposed to a fantasy, but personal opinions, I guess. But also, I mean, the arched everything. I'm not even kidding. Arch cabinets. The arch cabinets, it's a furniture piece, so if you want to play with a trend like that, fine, but they tend to be really expensive. Like, I just don't think it's worth it. And all of the arch decor and everything like that, it just is very trendy. It's so trendy that I would not suggest people do it. Now, as far as arch doorways go, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. One is the style of home. Not every home is intended to have an arched doorway. This reads as being a little more Mediterranean, a little more Spanish, a little Italian. So if that's the vibe you're going for, it kind of makes sense. Okay, like, you want to put that in there, great, but the scale of it has to be correct. You can't take a standard doorway and add an arch on it because it drops the height of it and it makes it look low and a little squat. It needs to be taller and a little more elevated, which means a lot more work construction-wise than just adding in some drywall and creating the arch and calling it a day. You have to raise the header and all of those things, and that's big construction. And when it comes to these architectural trends, we've seen them all over the time in the past, right? Like in the early 2000s, we loved angled walls. That was the whole big thing. Well, now we don't really like that so much. And there was a massive trend about, like the built-in drywall niches for those oversized TVs. And okay, like rip it out now, you know what I mean? I think this trend is just very 2024, 2025, and I don't think you're gonna like it in just a few years down the line. So if, you're on the edge about it, I would say don't do it, but if you're really in love with it, let's make sure we just do it right. Now, another big trend that is all over social media, and I actually just had an interaction with a client about it, and I don't think it's worth the time, effort, or money necessarily in 2025, is light wood, white oak, refinishing everything to be light wood. I don't think it's something you have to do. Wood tones come in and out of trend. So I personally would not say any of it is super trendy or super timeless. Like wood is wood, okay? It's always going to be in no matter what it is. I have worked with clients who have cherry wood floors and we make them look beautiful without having to replace them all and refinish them. I have clients who absolutely love white oak and they have to have it and that's great. But also so many people have red oak and honey oak, and that's absolutely okay. We can totally make that work. So don't think that just because you need to do something or you want to make a change that you have to refinish the floors in the house, because you don't necessarily have to. For me, it's all about the tone and the color of them and whether you like it or not. I have one client who, her red oak floors, I don't know where they got red from because they are orange. They look orange and she doesn't like them because they look orange. And so we're talking about refinishing them because they need to be refinished, okay? It's not working, and she doesn't like that. She's on board with it. She brought the idea to me. I'm okay with that. As where another client I recently met with, she's got, the honey oak everywhere, honey oak trim, floors, cabinetry, and she's talking about refinishing them, and I said, do you like the honey oak? Because she wants to refinish the floors, but not the trim. And she's like, well, yeah, I like it. And I'm like, so then why would we refinish it to be something different? Like, you like it, it's in good condition, just keep it. Let's pivot and adjust and make some of the details work so that they look good and refreshed and timeless. And that particular honey oak was really beautiful because it had a lot of good tones in it. It wasn't too yellow, it wasn't too orange, so it looked good and it worked. It's all about the details for me. It's not just about this is what's new, you have to do it. I would not be replacing wood floors or refinishing them if I didn't have to. It's a big job, it's a messy job, it's expensive. I would rather put that budget into details that matter. I would rather, really do some great furniture pieces, some really good artwork, some really good hardware on cabinetry or new countertops, like before I refinish floors that didn't really need it. That's always something I'm advising my clients on, is what makes the most sense. And then how do we take what you have that you maybe are questioning and saying like, okay, here's how to make it look better, because you already like what's there. It's just the details you don't like. So if you need some of that help, be sure you check out the description box down below. We can have a virtual consultation where you can show me your home. I can answer some of those questions or get some of the details straightened out for you. Be sure you head there or go to intro.co/GarrettLeChic to book a one-on-one virtual design consultation with me. And I will see you over there. Now, another thing that is so popular right now, and I don't get it, okay, I get it, I just don't like it, is the smart home everything. Some features are really great and other ones just don't make sense to me. Here's one that's really great. It's 106 degrees in Las Vegas and I'm wearing a sweater because I have a smart home thermostat that's keeping my home cool. That's great. Love it. Wonderful. The little robot vacuum cleaners that clean your floor. You can even get them that mop. 10 out of 10. Absolutely love it. Anything that's going to make my life easier, I'm all about. But why does my toaster need to have a television screen? Make that make sense to me. I don't need to have a TV screen on my refrigerator also. I don't need all of that smart home. It gets to the point where it's just way too much, it's overbearing, and it's gonna be a drain on my internet, and I need to have the good speed because when my shows pause, it's a problem. It's almost like technology for the sake of consumerism, and it's just not worth it to me. I listen, I get it, I get hate comments, I get the people in the comment section that are like, oh, it's such a waste, you don't have to replace or redo anything. There's a fine line there. It's like sometimes you just want to update your home. You want to change something, do something a little different. Okay, I love a vintage piece, an antique or whatever, but I'm not going to buy something. I'm not going to bring something into my home because it has some technological feature that's like groundbreaking or amazing. There's only a handful of technology things that I'm all about. You want to get technical with it. I love those recliners with the folding headrests. You all know that because they look really good. That's technology I would allow into my home. I don't mind having a smart lock on my front door because it auto locks itself in case I forget, and I love that. But I don't want to have every single thing in my home be technology, smart. I don't have smart light bulbs all over the place because I just don't think that makes the most amount of sense. There are instances where that works, but a lot of them just, I don't think you need. I don't think it makes sense to have, and it's so expensive. It's like replacing things for no reason, as where you could buy something like a great antique or a vintage piece that would really look good, and maybe it's not gonna, send you a report on how many people walk past it during the day to your phone or whatever that sports stuff does anyway. So I'm gonna put more of that budget into places that make a big difference rather than things that are just like technologically advanced and impressive to some people. But honestly, that technology will probably be dated in 2 years anyway, so why would I even bother with it to begin with? Now, another thing I don't think is worth it in 2025 that I see quite often online and, in like more contemporary style homes. We have a lot of that here in Vegas. And it's like a really modern accent piece in those spaces. A modern accent piece is not for every home, and especially contemporary design. Like if you have a more traditional home and you're bringing in more contemporary furniture pieces or modern pieces, you can have a little bit more fun because the details, the finishes really lend themselves to being high energy, high detail. Like you can throw on a big floral wallpaper in a more traditional home and it will make sense because the weight of the details make it look a little more refined and subtle. So that plays better there. But in a contemporary space, really, really high contrast, bold statement, modern pieces look crazy. It looks like a museum, and that's the showcase piece. Like, do you want your bar stool to be a showcase piece in your home? Like, it's a bar stool, like it's a chair, okay? Like, that's fine, we can set that aside. So when it comes to contemporary design, you wanna be careful about using really high impact, bold, high contrast colors. That's mostly where you're going to get this. If you really want a statement piece or something that's sculptural and interesting, you need to go for that in a more muted tone because honestly, it just makes more sense. It's a little bit easier to visually digest. It doesn't pull focus from all of the other details. That's the thing about contemporary design. It's about great materials, not necessarily highly detailed elements. So we don't want to fight or oppose them so strongly that you can't see past that. Look at this space, for example. It's a great space architecturally, it's beautiful, the sofa's great. What is that coffee table doing though? It's the only thing I see because of how high contrast it is. Those are not things you want to do in a contemporary space. You can do that in a more traditional space, like you can have an accent chair, you can have bold floral colors and patterns because the space carries it. The weight of it is not so severe, but in a more contemporary space you have that. I don't think it's worth it. I think going for things that are a little bit more within that color wheel or realm make more sense. Everything needs to have the same energy as far as the colors go and the details go. You can do a lot of high colored pieces that are really high contrast with each other because they're all pulling focus from each other, so it all balances out. But one statement piece in a contemporary space is way too much because it pulls too much focus. It's like having one big giant oversized piece of artwork that's high color and contrast and then everything else is white. Well, I'm only gonna look at that one thing. I'm not gonna look at everything else. That one thing is pulling focus, and that's what you want to avoid in a contemporary space, especially in 2025, which is like, you know, the year of the accent piece or the sculptural piece or whatever. Just avoid it. Go with what feels consistent with the overall design of that space. Now, if you made it this far in the video, now would be a perfect time for you to hit the subscribe button. If you've seen some value in the content, I would love to have you as a part of our GarrettLeChic family. Join us by hitting that subscribe button. I would also greatly appreciate if everyone watching could give this video a like. Oh, hi there, Arden. Hi. What would you say? Do you agree? Should everyone take a moment and subscribe? Should they subscribe just because we have a little mascot for the channel, huh? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're so handsome. You're so pretty. You're so pretty. Oh yes, you're so handsome. You're so pretty. Do you want to sit in my lap or do you want to stand there this whole time? Because this isn't really a safe situation for you and I don't like that. Come on. Okay, there you go. That's cute. That's sweet. Yeah. All right, so the next thing we have to talk about that you don't need to spend the money on, it's just not worth it in 2025. And it breaks my heart a little bit to say this, but that thing is designer lighting. Now, I love designer lighting. And what is designer lighting? It's like light fixtures that are designed by designers. They're collaboration pieces. They're really, you know, advanced, beautiful lighting pieces. I love them so much, and there's so much great detail in them, but they tend to be very expensive. They use exotic materials or interesting shapes, things that are a little more difficult to produce, so you pay a premium for them. And unfortunately, it's just not accessible to everybody, and sometimes some of these light fixtures are thousands and thousands of dollars. And while I think they're worth it to an extent, it's just not accessible for everybody. And I always say to my clients that I'm meeting with, like, hey, go look at some designer lighting and see what you like, see what's out there. If something's interesting to you, to get inspiration, to train your eye as far as details go. I love to look at like a return section or an open box section. These are fixtures that have been returned. Maybe somebody got it, was the wrong size, the wrong color, didn't look how they thought it was gonna look, so they return it. And you can usually get a really good deal on them. So always be mindful and on the lookout for that. And the other thing I always do, I love lighting on Etsy because usually these are sellers that are producing things custom, they're making them to order, and so you can change details about it. Say, I don't want it to extend that far, I don't want the drop to be that big, can you make it this way? Or I don't want this, this metal, I would like this instead, or can you do this? All of those things are customizable there, so you can really make something that's interesting, unique, personal, sculptural, something that's modern, or a lot of times you can even find like Murano glass fixtures on Etsy. Love, 10 out of 10. Always really great, something colorful and interesting, or you can find something that's just really modern and has that sculptural element we like to see in a lot of light fixtures. And a lot of times you can find something that's similar to a designer piece, maybe it's a dupe of it, or it may just have similar details in, you know, the shape of the shade on it, or the way the arm on that sconce bends. Like all of those things are really good details to consider. So I don't personally think that designer lighting is really worth the premium price tag that's put on it. And as much as it hurts to say that, like, that's just the reality. So a lot of times I'll say to my clients, like, I love this piece and it's a really great detail, but the price point on this, I just think is out of bounds for what you should spend on a light fixture. So I would take it. Also, I love a reverse image search on Google, like upload the image to Google, boom, it'll show you like dupes, alternatives. You can use like dupe.com too. Like there's all sorts of things you can do to find alternatives to a piece. I would personally go that route, so you get that designer look and feel without having to spend that massive price tag. And sometimes, I will be honest, you just have to cut your losses and do it. And that's okay if you really, really love that light fixture and that piece. Now that we talked about some interior design ideas that I just don't think are worth it in 2025, let's talk about some home decor you should not be buying in 2025. Be sure you check out that video right over here, and I will see you over there.